What if I told you that one of Russia's most dangerous warships, armed with missiles capable of leveling entire cities, was forced to flee in disgrace after being blinded and battered by a swarm of Ukrainian drones? That's not a scene from a Hollywood thriller. It happened in the Sea of Azov, and it might be the clearest sign yet that the balance of naval power in this war is shifting. On August 28th, Ukraine struck a devastating blow against Russia's Black Sea Fleet. A Buyan-M class warship, one of Moscow's prized missile carriers armed with Kalibr cruise missiles, was attacked and badly damaged by Ukrainian special forces. The ship was left crippled, forced into an embarrassing retreat, and will likely require months of repairs, if it ever returns to combat at all. For a Kremlin already bleeding resources, this was a symbolic and strategic disaster. Mainstream media framed it as just another drone strike. A bold attack, yes, but nothing decisive in the grand scheme of war. Yet, if you peel back the layers, this wasn't just about one ship. It was about exposing the vulnerability of Russia's supposed high-tech fleet. It was about proving that Moscow's strategy of shifting ships into the Sea of Azov, once thought safer than the Black Sea, was a grave miscalculation. And it was about Ukraine's growing ability to reshape the battlefield not through massive firepower, but with intelligence, ingenuity, and an army of inexpensive drones. But here's what they don't tell you. This wasn't just luck. It was the result of a carefully orchestrated operation involving Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Directorate and an elite special unit known as Primary, nicknamed the Ghosts. These fighters have built a reputation for surgical strikes against Russia's most valuable targets. Radar stations, air defenses, logistics hubs, all systematically dismantled. This time, their target was the very eyes and ears of the Buyan-M. In the first phase of the operation, a drone slammed into the ship's radar systems, destroying its MP-231-2 navigation radar and its advanced phased array positive M1 unit. In an instant, the warship was blinded. Unable to track incoming threats, unable to coordinate a defense, it became a floating coffin waiting to be cracked open. Seconds later, more drones came in waves. Ukraine's Department of Active Measures launched strike drones at the hull, blasting through the steel and forcing the crew of up to 36 sailors into a panicked withdrawal. The evidence came straight from Ukraine's own defense intelligence, which published images of drones striking the radar and later the ship's hull. The Post declared, the Kalibr carrier was struck. Ukrainian forces hunted down a Buyan-M missile ship in the Sea of Azov. The message was clear. Even Russia's most sophisticated vessels are not safe. Now let's step back for a moment. Why does this matter so much? After all, Russia still has tanks, jets, and plenty of artillery. Why should the damage to a single corvette make headlines? Because the Buyan-M isn't just any ship. It is one of only 12 of its kind, each armed with Kalibr cruise missiles, the Russian answer to America's Tomahawk. With a range of up to 1,400 kilometers by U.S. estimates, and potentially 2,500 kilometers according to Russian claims, Kalibr missiles can strike almost anywhere in Ukraine from the relative safety of the sea. They are fast, accurate, and carry warheads of nearly half a ton. Some variants even reach supersonic speeds of Mach 3. Think about that for a second. A single Buyan-M can unleash 8 Kalibr missiles in one salvo. That's enough firepower to devastate energy infrastructure, level military depots, or kill dozens of civilians in a single strike. Russia has used them repeatedly in this war. In 2022, a Buyan-M was filmed launching its entire arsenal at a Ukrainian weapons depot, an act Moscow proudly broadcast on state television as proof of its dominance. Kalibr missiles have been linked to attacks on Mykolaiv, Vinnytsia, and Kyiv, attacks that left soldiers, women, and children dead. So yes, damaging one Buyan-M matters. It doesn't just remove a dangerous weapon system from the battlefield, it chips away at Russia's psychological warfare. These ships were supposed to represent unstoppable power projection. Instead, one had to limp away under fire, humiliated and broken by drones that cost a fraction of a single Kalibr missile. The symbolism gets even deeper. For months, Russia has relied on the Sea of Azov as a safe zone for its naval operations. After suffering heavy losses in the Black Sea, remember the sinking of the Moskva, the flagship cruiser, in 2022, Moscow redeployed many of its vessels eastward. Analysts believed the Azov offered natural protection. It's smaller, more enclosed, and closer to Russian-controlled territory. From there, Russia launched new Kalibr strikes, including a major offensive in June 2024 that hit cities like Lviv, Lutsk, and Zaporizhzhia. At the time, Ukrainian naval spokesman Dmytro Pletenchuk warned that Russia was betting on Azov's safety. "They forget," he said, "that the Sea of Azov is also very close to us." Fast forward a year and those words came true. Ukraine proved it can reach deep into Azov waters and neutralize missile carriers where they least expected it. And here's the bigger picture. This isn't just a tactical victory. It's a strategic message. If Ukraine can repeatedly damage or destroy high-value ships, Russia's naval supremacy becomes a myth. The Kremlin will be forced to either invest billions in repairing or replacing ships, or withdraw them entirely. Neither option is attractive for Moscow. Consider the economics. A Buyan-M corvette costs hundreds of millions to build and maintain. Each Kalibr missile costs over $1 million. Meanwhile, Ukraine is striking with drones that may cost tens of thousands, sometimes less. This is asymmetrical warfare in its purest form, forcing a superpower to spend enormous sums just to defend itself against cheap, expendable weapons. Every drone that hits is a reminder that modern war isn't about who has the biggest fleet. It's about who can adapt faster. Of course, the Buyan-M didn't sink. That much is true. Russia still has a dozen of them, and the damaged ship may eventually limp back into service. But time is against the Kremlin. Repairs will drain resources, and every day that ship is offline is one less platform launching missiles at Ukrainian cities. Multiply that by repeated strikes, and suddenly, Russia's ability to terrorize from the sea is crippled. Let's not forget the human factor either. For the Russian sailors aboard that corvette, the experience must have been terrifying. Imagine sitting inside a steel warship, confident in your radars and weapons, only to hear the shriek of incoming drones, feel the thud of explosions, and realize your systems are blind. No amount of propaganda can erase the panic of knowing you're trapped in a billion-dollar coffin, fleeing under the cover of smoke. And yet mainstream coverage reduces this to a footnote. Another drone strike, they say. But what they don't highlight is how Ukraine is rewriting the rules of modern naval warfare. This war has become a laboratory for drone combat. From the sinking of the Moskva to the repeated strikes on Crimean ports, to now the humiliation of a Buyan-M, we are witnessing the decline of traditional naval dominance. Expensive fleets are proving vulnerable to swarms of cheap, smart weapons. Does this sound familiar? It should. History is full of moments when empires relied on mighty fleets or massive armies, only to be undone by new technologies. Think of how British dreadnoughts dominated the seas in the early 20th century, until submarines and aircraft carriers rendered them obsolete. Or how the US military in Vietnam learned that helicopters and jets couldn't guarantee victory against guerrilla tactics. Today, Russia is learning the same lesson. Size and firepower mean nothing if your enemy can outthink you. And let's be clear, Ukraine's drone program isn't just about improvisation. It's about strategy. By targeting radars, depots, and warships, Kyiv is systematically eroding Russia's ability to sustain its war. Each strike forces Moscow to redirect resources, spread its defenses thinner, and admit, if only silently, that its once-feared arsenal is vulnerable. Now what comes next? Russia will no doubt try to adapt. It might invest in stronger electronic warfare, better drone detection, or thicker armor for its ships. But all of that takes time and money, and both are in short supply. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to innovate. Every successful strike boosts morale, proves resilience, and sends a message to its allies. This fight is far from hopeless. The Buyan-M strike also matters beyond Ukraine's borders. NATO, the European Union, and even countries in Asia are watching closely. They see how drones are reshaping the battlefield. They see how a smaller nation can resist a larger aggressor by combining ingenuity with determination. And they see that Russia, once touted as a near-peer adversary to NATO, is bleeding credibility with every retreat. Think about the narrative shift. In 2022, Russia wanted to intimidate the world with images of Kalibr missiles roaring into the sky. In 2025, Ukraine is showing the world videos of drones smashing into those very launch platforms, forcing Russia to run. Which image will stick in the minds of future military planners? So, where does this leave us? Ukraine's latest strike on the Buyan-M is more than just another battle report. It's a story about how modern war is changing, how drones are leveling the playing field, and how even a superpower can stumble when it underestimates its opponent. It's also a story about resilience. For every missile Russia fires, Ukraine finds new ways to fight back. And here's the uncomfortable truth for Moscow. This won't be the last humiliation. As long as Ukraine continues to innovate, Russia's warships, refineries, and infrastructure remain at risk. Each strike chips away at Putin's narrative of strength, replacing it with images of vulnerability and fear. So let me ask you, is this the beginning of the end for Russia's naval dominance? Are we witnessing the death of the traditional warship as drones take over the seas? Or is Moscow preparing some counter that will shift the momentum once more? What's certain is that history is being written in the waters of the Sea of Azov. And it's not being written by the biggest fleet, but by the side willing to adapt, innovate, and fight with creativity against all odds. This war is far from over. But if Ukraine can continue to blind and batter Russia's most dangerous weapons with swarms of inexpensive drones, then perhaps the tide is already turning. If you've stayed with me until now, you know this is more than just headlines. It's about the future of warfare and the resilience of a people fighting for survival. So tell me in the comments, do you think drones are the ultimate equalizer in modern war, or will Russia find a way to reclaim its dominance? Don't forget to subscribe, share this video, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into global power struggles. Because this story is just getting started.